I want to help. How do I do that? Well, I go learn from my master and go do it. I should go get a job with Tony Robbins. I couldn't get a job with Tony Robbins. There's no way. And turns out I was absolutely right because his brother-in-law hated my guts. It didn't work really. It took me 6 months of interviewing to get a shot to work for Tony. And I started out in the cold calling center. So here I am. I've been a speaker most of my life. I've taught martial arts most of my life. I've done all this. And I had to work my way up into that company. Eventually, what ended up happening, long story short, I became the top speaker, the head trainer for the organization. I did over 5,000 presentations for him. So I spoke 2, 3, 4, 5 times per day, every day for almost 5 years straight. And then, a couple other years in addition to that as well. And that was it. So that was the last 8 years of my life, basically.
That's incredible.
It was a lot.
Yeah, incredible how you've adjusted that mindset from going from that individual who was sleeping in the car with the last $20 in your pocket and buying it on a book, which was Tony Robbins' book, and then actually having that mindset to actually go all the way through and then Tony Robbins and work your way to the top. Incredible story.
So yeah, one word comes to mind, and that's manifestation. Now, what does that word mean to you, Stephen?
It's interesting because at the beginning of my career, I was such a huge fan of that promise of the secret, that promise of, and my business partner, he was funny enough, my current business partner was the top speaker for Bob Proctor for 8 years. And it was just such a weird thing that we got together. So, I was such a huge fan of that, but you know what? It's interesting because at one point, the secret, not just manifestation in general, but the secret was taught as this idea that you would sit there and think about and hope and pray and things would just magically happen for you. And have you ever read the book, Think and Grow Rich? Do you guys know the old book? Do you remember this? In the book, there was, what is chapter 1 or chapter 2, like the introduction. He's talking about this idea that there's a secret within the book. Oh, there it is. Now we're talking.
There you go.
So he's talking about this idea that there's a secret hidden in this book. It's never explicitly said, but you got to read between the lines and figure out what this book is. And when Bob Proctor came out and Rhonda Burns and some of these other people, they all said, I've got the answer. The answer is manifestation. The answer is the secret. Here's what I'm going to say that's slightly controversial. I think they're wrong. I think the answer was obsession.
Wow.
A step above manifestation. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't just sitting on the couch and hoping and praying checks would show up in my mailbox that made it happen. It was, I got my ass out there work, and I was so obsessed with getting that thing. I woke up thinking about it. I went to bed thinking about it. It was my hobbies. It was my habits. It was literally everything I did. Yeah. So I know that a lot of people, when I say that, they get like, no, I'm a huge fan of The Secret. I am too. However, I think that's the answer.
You just got to take it like up a notch, like be obsessed, because that is what you really want. That is your desire, right? Yeah. And if you don't really want something or be obsessed by it, sure, you might manifest it for a couple months or two, but then your interest wanes away, right? So very, very, very powerful there for sure.
Yeah.
So when it comes to obsession, Stephen, so how would you use that in developing your skill set? So you become obsessed for a marketer like me, for example. So there's a marketer, they're obsessed with marketing, but they want to level up their skill sets. Any advice on that question?
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people ask a similar question and they want like the easy answer. And they don't like my answer.
The difficult one.
And look, I really don't believe I have a strong belief. I'm not talented at all. I have zero talent, especially in the martial arts. I was the smallest. I was the weakest. I was the skinniest. I was the slowest. Like I just wasn't good. But I hit a point as a child and this goes back to my very first karate tournament at 6 years old, because nobody else showed up. I, a 6-year-old boy, was up against 2 girls that were a lower belt ranking than I was, and they kicked my butt. I took 3rd place out of 3 to 2 white belt girls. And from that moment, I was like, this will never happen again. I remember my little 6-year-old brain, right? This will never happen again. I remember the moment. So anytime somebody did 10 push-ups next to me, I did 11. If someone took a workout, if they did a class, I did 2. And that did everything for me. That work ethic, just push, because I really felt like I had 0 talent. So I had to make up for it in skill. So when I tell you I bought that first book, Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within, a lot of people are like, yeah, I read a book like that. I skimmed through it. No, I've read that book hundreds of times. Yeah, but then I also went on a journey and I read every freaking book I could get my hands on. Any name that Tony mentioned in his book, I went and got all of their books and I read all their books. Any name that they mentioned in their books, I went and got all of their books. At this point, I'm 38, 39 years old. What day is it? I don't know what day it is today. I'm almost 40. I'm coming up on 40. I've read over 2,000 books. I've been to over 200 seminars. I chased down every one of these gurus and marketers and I stalked them until they would coach me. So, the truth is, like Tony Robbins, like I got his attention. Jay Abraham, I got to work with him for a year. Chet Holmes, before he passed away, I got the chance to work with him. Name a famous internet marketer or marketer in general. I've tracked them down and I've flown across the country, across the world to go sit in a room with them, introduce myself, be friends with them, and get to really know them and learn from them. Wow. So when you say like how to up level your skills, like obsession, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. So now, of course, like a lot of people don't know how to handle rejection, right? Obviously, right? It's a big, major pain point of everybody, right? So, so what was that moment, Stephen, when you viewed rejection as the next stepping stone to advancement?
It's a tough question. And a lot of people these days, especially, think of it like a video game, right? When you play a video game and you're playing Mario, whatever, and you fall down the hole, you don't go, oh my God, I quit. This is the end. I'm never gonna. You just hit the start button. You try again. Like there's no emotion attached to it. You just freaking go again, right? It's not a big deal. And hopefully we can have the maturity level to see life like that, because most things aren't the end of the world, right? Someone says no, usually that means not yet. But I'll tell you a little bit about rejection, because working for Tony was not freaking easy. I told you I did 5,000 some presentations, probably a little bit more than that, all said and done. I took every meeting. So I wasn't the only speaker. There was probably, at any given time, there was like 5 or 6 of us. I was the one that outlasted everyone, because I was the one who was too stupid to quit. So everyone who came in, they would see someone like me come and speak at a real estate conference or something like that. They're like, oh, Stephen, I want to do what you do. And I'm like, no, you don't. They're like, yeah, I do. I can't wait to be up on stage and talking in front of them. I'm like, you don't understand the job. The job is not for me to stand on stage and be so cool and funny and charismatic that you want to give Tony Robbins all your money. It was, I have to convince you within an hour as a stranger to not only identify what are your limiting beliefs, patterns, habits, emotions, rituals, and be willing to transform them and pull out your credit card and put it down on the table to go hang out with Tony for 4 days. Now, at the beginning of that, I was not the popular guy. I did not get to go to the fancy meetings. I did not get to go to the easy ones where everyone liked me. I went to the used car lot at 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning, trying to convince 5 guys who were smoking a cigarette and drinking a Monster that they should change their life. So you want to talk about rejection? It was rejection after rejection after rejection. So a lot of people came into the Tony Robbins world as speakers, or wanted to be speakers. You guys, just give me your estimate. How long do you think they lasted?
3 months.
6 months.
Spot on. 90 days was about all they can handle. because you wake up, you shave, you put the suit and tie on, you run out to the meeting, you go to this real estate office where they don't like you, they don't want you, they don't even know who Tim Robertson is. What the hell is this stupid person coming in here telling me how to do my job better? It's constant rejection. But that was the key. And to top it all off, at the beginning, for the first 2, almost 3 years, I had to set all my own meetings. I had no assistant calling for me. I had nobody. I had to go literally down the street. Hey, it's the Tony Robbins speaker. Would you like me to come and teach your people how to live a better life and make more sales? It threw me out over and over and over. I literally went door to door as the top trainer for Tony Robbins, largest organization on the planet, most brilliant brand of all time. And I was the one door knocking. Talk about rejection, man. It was a challenge. I had to build that muscle more than I'd ever built it before.
That's incredible. It really goes to show like how you can make a thick skin in sales, you know, because they say that you get told no, 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 but the yes will come. Can you tell me about the time when you got that first yes and how it felt?
You know, I think for a lot of people, that whole idea of beginner's luck, I think we all experience it, right? Well, like you first get out there and you get a couple sales, and you're like, wow, I'm pretty awesome. And those were out of the ordinary. Like that's not how real life is. Like 99 out of 100 people aren't going to buy your thing the first time you show it to them. And I don't know if you know this in marketing and branding. There was a study that came out about 2 or 3 years ago. The latest study shows when people see your brand, they mistake it for somebody else 47 times before they recognize that it's not Kleenex or it's not Coca-Cola or it's not whatever. 47 times someone has to see your thing before they stop mistaking it for your competitors. Like, okay, that's the real world. And when people get rejected, like they just don't realize they haven't had enough at-bats. And for me, you know, again, I still have this belief, and I know people argue with me. They're like, "Oh, you're actually kind of talented. You're pretty good." I'm like, no, it was all skill. Like all had to be built. But going from one rejection to the next, to the next, to the next, I was trying to get better every time. So I was honest with number one of like, here's what went well. And some days, like I was like, nothing. I suck. I'm the worst. And you know, again, here's a full-grown man. There was plenty of times. There was plenty of times I just broke down in tears because I'm sitting here. I remember a time I'm up in, you know, the other speakers. Some of these guys are so great. They're great friends of mine too. And at the beginning, when I was first starting, they were the seniors. So they got to pick where they got to go. They would go downtown, Manhattan, New York. They would go to Los Angeles. And I would be out in the middle of freaking nowhere trying to talk to someone in Lubbock, Texas, or New Haven, Connecticut, or whatever, and just like out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm trying to convince these people who have no intention of ever going to a Tony Robbins event to try to go to a Tony Robbins event. So I'll tell you a quick story to answer the question. But have you guys ever heard of the company Coldwell Banker?
Yep.
Yeah, real estate company, right? If you're listening, Coldwell, you guys can all go to hell. So I'm struggling to get meetings. I'm knocking on doors. And I found one Coldwell Banker real estate office that I go knock on their door, and they're like, yeah, great. We've got 6 offices. You can come speak to all of them. I'm like, oh my God, I did it. Mark, like I got a yes. 6 offices. I'm going to go speak to all of them. I'm going to sell 100 Tony Robbins tickets. I'm going to change so many lives. This is going to be amazing. If you don't know this, Coldwell Bankers where real estate agents go to die. The average age in every one of those rooms was 80. So here's this young man coming in with a bunch of energy, like, let's all change our lives, my friends. Come on, let's do this. You can. And they're, I mean, I'm not joking. 70, 80 years old was the average age of the room. And at the end, they would come up to, oh my God, son, that was so great. You're such a good speaker and such a great. I'm like, amazing. Do you want to go? Do you want to check out this event? Do you want to transform your life? Oh, no. 6 of those in a row. One of them, they literally handed me a butterscotch candy as a present for coming to speak. I'm not joking. I'm not making it up. That sounds like it's made up. They handed me a candy. Hey, you did such a good talk today. Thank you. Here's your candy. And I'm like, oh my God. I was so frustrated. I had my little whiteboard that I was carrying around with me, putting in my rental car. And I took it in the parking lot and I put my fist through it. And I'm never an angry person, but I was so sad and so frustrated and so angry and so upset because it had been dozens of meetings. I hadn't sold a single thing. Rent was due. Here I am. I pulled myself out of homelessness, built 3 multi-million-dollar companies, and I'm back below zero. And so you talk about just breaking down in tears and crying, of course, and my boss calls. And I'm just like, what am I going to do here? And in that moment, you got a decision, right? Are you just going to quit and give up, or do you keep going? And for me, I never felt like there was another option. So I just suffered through and I kept going. And I think a lot of business owners, a lot of people get to that point, don't they? And I'm sure you guys have experienced it too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, big time. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Long stories to answer the questions. I apologize, gentlemen.
No. Like right now we're just like soaking it in, and right now we're thinking of our own. I know specifically me and Mark, we've been through struggles at the beginning. It took me precisely 2.5 years to get my LinkedIn strategy down, so to speak, to build like a great business. But there's been times when I was like, I wanted to give up. I gave up. I actually gave up 5 times.
Nice.
But then this like nagging, persistent obsession, like you said, it was like, okay, you got to continue. Got to continue.
Try one more time.
Continue. Try one more
time.
One
more time.
And then.
And that's how we met.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. Yeah, and that's how we met. First DM, Mark was having his baby in one hand, baby bottle in another hand. Hey, what's up? How you doing? And so yeah, the rest is history, right? So yeah,
that's amazing.
Definitely, it's just like amazing. Yeah. So yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
Was there a pivotal moment in your career with Tony Robbins where you really felt like, yeah, this is what I can see myself doing for the rest of my life? Or no, I actually need to make a change in what I'm doing currently to do something else?
My original game plan at the beginning was I said, okay, I'm going to give this 10 years. Tony, you changed my life. You changed my family's life. You changed everything about you changed our entire family line's destiny. And that's not an exaggeration. I come from a long, distinguished line of trailer trash. Our family tree looks like a family bush. It's all over the place. And, half of the family's dead from drugs or alcohol. Like, it was rough and tough. My dad was kind of the first one to really break through and make something happen and make something of himself. And, it's just interesting looking back at the rest of the family. I've got a very unique family. We're kind of merged of several families these days, but I told Tony I'd give him 10 years and I made it about a little over 8. And the reason was basically because I put myself out of a job. COVID. So if you can imagine this, we had 3 sold out seminars over the next several months, and then COVID happens and we lose 90% of our revenue overnight. We got to refund tens of thousands of tickets. I'm stuck in a hotel in Chicago with 18 people. They were from the airline. They got stuck there too. And imagine 1,000-person hotel room and there's 18 of us. They even sent the staff home. Like I'm like, I got to get out of here. Like, what am I going to do? Right. So I came to Arizona where my buddy was living, and I said, hey, I've got nowhere to go. Can I just come hang out with you? He said, yeah, cool. And I never left. But during that time, we had to completely transition Tony into a virtual model. And that's one of my specialties is like online marketing. I'm like, guys, I can help with this. But I told them specifically, I was like, guys, look, if we do this and we do it right, there's zero reason for another speaker to go out there and be a representation of Tony. Because originally, if he was in LA, I better be in New York. If he's in New York, I better be in Miami. If we were in the same city, I wasn't doing my job. So my job was a high five backstage, run to the next city. That was it. And, I got to interact with him a few times and it was great. I treasured those moments. They're fantastic. But realistically, I never hung out with the guy. So transitioning to virtual, it was interesting because I was doing webinars, like these. I would have, a couple thousand people on them and it was great. It was cool. But now Tony is doing events at the same time I'm doing events. Who are you going to go see?
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, we have this scalability now that we can do. So, I stayed on, and that was about 2 years ago now that I kind of bowed out gracefully. And, funny enough, I'm getting back into writing and trying to create my own brand, like was my original intention. But to pay the bills, I do consulting. So that's, a lot of companies tag me and some small 7-figure, mostly 8 and 9-figure companies reach out to me because they want help with their marketing. And that's what I do.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. So we'll just ask you a little bit about like what you do. So like, how do you help? Like, let's say a company reaches out to you. What's the process, and what do you do? Like, what do you specifically do to help them succeed?
I like to call myself a strategist. And my title for Tony was the peak performance strategist. And I've kind of adopted that into my own kind of moniker of the obsessed strategist, right? But I learned marketing strategy from Jay Abraham. And if you guys are familiar with Jay, I speak Jay in English. So when we talk about what do you do with the company, well, most companies, even billion-dollar companies, aren't doing the basics right. I love to get I love strategy. I love to look at some of these businesses and turn around and like, oh my God, if you position like this, or if you did this, or if we transform this, I get all these crazy ideas, but I don't even get the chance to get to them because it's like, hey, do you have an abandoned cart sequence? No, what's that? All right, well, let's start with that. Did you know 9 out of 10 people who add your product to cart don't check out? No. Yeah, that's how it works. No way. No joke. A buddy of mine, he called me. This is a couple years ago now. He called me. And this literally was our conversation. Hey, dude, when's you want some help getting sales? He's like, yeah, I'd love that. Business going well, making like 300 grand a month, doing really well, like insanely well. And he was like, yeah, I'm doing well. If you got an idea, I'm like, cool. When's the last time you sent an email promotion? Oh, we don't do that. Well, okay. How do people know to buy your products? Well, they just go to the website. Like, okay, but how do they know like what's on sale? Well, they go to the website. They can see it. I'm like, buddy, like you got to send an email to let people know. And they're like these simple conversations for extremely successful entrepreneurs. And good example, Huda Beauty. Do you guys know Huda Beauty? Huda.
I know Huda.
They sold for like $1 billion or something like that. They do not have an abandoned cart sequence.
Interesting.
They just sold for like $1 billion. And if anyone got in there and just said, hey, how about we add some really high quality abandoned cart sequences and text message? Hey, you forgot to get your lip gloss or whatever the hell it is. They can make them millions and millions of dollars just with some simple follow-up. So that's what I do these days.
Back to basics for sure.
Yeah.
So you find the gaps. So you basically you're finding the gaps in their marketing campaigns and you're filling them with ways that they can obviously increase their average transaction or their conversion rate.
Yeah. Get more customers, get them to spend more money, get them to come back more often. That's my whole business in a bucket. You guys asked for something cool to give away. I've got the I call it the download. And the download is just a simple freaking exercise. And here's the whole thing. Hey, what's working really well right now? Oh, it's this thing. Great. I think you should do more of that. Cool. Question number 2. What worked really well in the past? Oh, it's this thing. Are you still doing it? No. I think you should do that again. Cool. Hey, what's not working? Oh, it's this thing. I don't think you should do that anymore. So like, I know this sounds obnoxious, but you like yourselves and myself, we get so tied up in our own business that we just don't think about silly stuff like this. That's like, well, duh.
Exactly.
You're in the trenches. You're in DMs. You're having sales conversations. You're doing everything you need to do to run the business. And so when someone comes along and say, what's your best marketing promotion ever? What was this thing? Are you still doing it? No. Okay.
Exactly.
How about we do that again?
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely all about like finding like the little things, right? And these smaller tweaks can really have a monumental impact on not only the people that you sell to, but you as a person, as an entrepreneur, or as a solopreneur, or as whatever, as a business owner, can work wonders for your confidence, right? So just
100%.
one little small tweak, and just to elevate that kind of mindset more and more. So, any more questions, Mark?
Yeah, I got one more actually.
Okay.
One more for myself.
Eh,
When someone says the word networking, what is
Good one.
networking in your eyes, Stephen?
That's a hard question, man.
Oh
It's a tricky
yeah, your definition, man. Your definition.
I saved it till last.
My definition is probably bullshit. But I mean, it's so funny because again, like trying to drum up meetings for Tony when I was a speaker, every night of the week in every major city, there's the networking event, there's the happy hour. And usually it's the time when two real estate agents go in and hand each other their card and try to sell each other a house. Right. It's like, it's silly in that aspect. And the biggest mistake that I think a lot of people make in networking, I know people do it with me all the time, and I tell them straight to their face, I am so much more valuable to you as a friend than as a prospect. And I have such a huge network of people. I have such a vast amount of connections. And just because I've always tried to do the right thing and I've always treated people as best as I possibly can, I've never screwed anyone over. I have such good relationships with people. But most people's version of networking is, let me sell you my thing. Yeah. Because that's all that matters is me selling you my thing. Yeah. Not thinking, 2 or 3 weeks or 2 months down the road of like, holy hell, if we get this person on our side, we could get 10,000 more sales.
Exactly.
I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm sure you guys feel the same way. How many LinkedIn agencies are now after you guys? Like, do you want to buy my LinkedIn agency so you can use your LinkedIn agency? Do LinkedIn agency stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. Me and Mark, we had a meeting like 6 months ago, and we vowed with everything in our power, everything in our heart, to end pitch slapping once and for all on LinkedIn. Because it's so crazy. It's so crazy. The amount of pitch slaps that is going around LinkedIn, and not only even LinkedIn, but everywhere, right? So yeah.
My big thing. Oh, what's that, Mark? I'm sorry.
Sorry, Stephen. So our favorite trick to those pitch slapping, when the first DM you get is like, oh, I'm a network marketer, I can help you do this.
Let's hop on a call.
Okay, great. Well, I'm actually a sales expert and I can help you convert in the DMs without sounding salesy. How about we try that first? And it's literally pitch. And that's what we do every single time. We've converted actually 2 for a pitch per pitch. So
quite two total from them coming in after you. Yeah.
Them coming in,
It's a very new world for me. I really appreciate what you guys do because LinkedIn is just all brand new to me. I wasn't really allowed to have social media, really anything when I worked for Tony. So for the last 10 years, I haven't done much of anything. Everything had to go through his lawyers, and is this on brand? Is he allowed to say this? I just, for the most part, I just posted stupid stories and stuff like that, just having fun with it. So here I am coming back into this world, and I'm like, oh my God, these guys are weird. Like, this whole thing is crazy. Like, this is wild. And, I don't know a lot of these people. It's so cool to meet you guys because it's like, here's entrepreneurs who are out there just getting it, smashing it. And, I don't get to go to networking events anymore. I don't get to go see people at their business. I don't get to go do that anymore. So just to meet cool people again, when you say networking, like that's the thing for me. It's like, oh my God, I could actually meet cool people again who are on the same journey of building their business. We might not be in the same industry. We not even doing anything remotely close to each other, but it's just cool to see people out there hustling and making things work.
Yep.
Love that.
And that's the spirit of LinkedIn, right? It's just like just the majority of our business right now comes from coffee chats, comes from network, comes from events that we go to, comes from um, just like amazing people on amazing missions. Like right now we're working with this international best-selling author. She's a TEDx speaker. She's very impactful. um, and we met her through we have the same coach, right? And we met her through like um, connections, and just like providing our services to her is just like amazing. Like she talks about, like, she's a descendant of a samurai, and so she talks a lot about how Japanese principles can influence your life for the better. And
Cool.
it's just like this amazing spirited, motivating message that we have a part of every day. And she's getting like 5 or 6 calls booked every week. It's kind of amazing.
That's
And
awesome.
just like having a part in that, it's it transcends anything monetary that we can ever receive. Transcends heart, transcends spirit, transcends everything, right? Just to have her impact, and the world with her message, and we have a part in that. So it's all about like finding alignment in these goals to like really bolster brands that are going to have an impact in the world, right? So I mean, that's how we see it. So
That's amazing.
thanks a lot. I think we've been talking for quite a long time. Let's see, 40 minutes. So, um, do you have a last question there,
Is
Mark,
that
for
a
him?
is that a long time?
It's a long time for our lives. We normally do like
My
half an
my,
hour.
my usual talks are like 4 hours long. So
Yeah,
We can
yeah,
chat for 4 hours another time for sure.
let's dance now. Woo!
but LinkedIn, we usually like to keep it around a half an
Yeah,
hour,
I'm
40
just joking.
minutes.
I'm just
Just kidding.
teasing. Yeah,
So
the mind can only absorb what the seat can endure, right?
exactly. So, do you have a
Absolutely.
last question for him, Mark? There.
No, I don't think so. I think probably the only thing I would invite
Yeah.
you to do, Stephen, is to just let the audience know, like, how they can help you, what you can do for them, like how you can support them, anything that where they can find you, all of that kind of stuff.
Cool. Well, I'll do this. I don't really have anything to pitch. I've got my little Path membership. It's called pathmembership.com. It's $100 a month. It's nothing. If you're under a few $1,000,000, come join that group. I'll get you up above a few $1,000,000, basically for practically for free, right? Most people in my consulting services, if you're interested in that, you got to be well into 20 million dollars or more per year, just to be able to implement what I'm going to tell you to implement. Otherwise, just take my free
Mhm.
stuff and work with it. My LinkedIn profile has been glitchy over the last couple of weeks, so you can hang out with me on LinkedIn if you want. Send me a message. As long as you're not a crazy person, I'll answer everyone's stuff. So feel free to shoot over questions and stuff when I can. But yeah, I've got that little membership. That'll be good. And then with you guys, I mean, hopefully we're going to be doing a lot more stuff. I know you guys are going to come on my little Path podcast
Yeah.
where you're going to lay out your strategy for everyone. And
Mhm.
most of the people in my group,
Yeah,
like,
all
they're
the
too lazy
secrets.
to do it themselves. So they're just like, tell me what to do. Okay, now could you just do it for me, please? So that'll be great. That'll be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah. Well,
Okay, awesome.
thank you very much, Stephen, for this time. Your Even though obviously your humility is really shining through. Obviously, you don't think too like you're not a haughty and toddy guy, but just listening to your story. I mean, not everyone, not everyone is like you, my friend. You're a very unique individual, and there's a lot of wealth of knowledge that you have to give to people, and we can't thank you enough, right, for being with us and for inspiring principally me and Mark too,
100%.
because you are inspiring not only your clients, but we believe that LinkedIn has to get prepared for a new up and coming
Yeah.
challenger. Like going back to those video games, Smash Brothers, a new challenger has
Oh,
appeared
there
in
we
the ring,
go.
right? So LinkedIn better be prepared for your message, because I mean, you're going to take it by storm, and that's what we truly believe for sure.
Fantastic.
So, awesome.
Well, I
And I'm
appreciate
going
you,
to buy
gentlemen.
that book.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm going to buy Tony Robbins' book. I'm going to get on
Yeah.
Amazon now and purchase a
Yeah.
copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you get the book, not the audio, because the audio is only like 2 chapters of the whole book. So
Okay.
Good tip. Perfect.
yeah.
I'll
Okay.
get that
Thank you very much, guys, for the viewers on LinkedIn, on YouTube. Again, there's many ways that you can get across to Stephen.
Yeah, come pitch slap me.
And no, don't do that. Don't pitch slap me.
Oh.
Only meaningful relationships.
Thank
That's
you.
only.
Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye.
Just let me. Oh, wait.